Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Late the W podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mahal. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, all of that fantastic jazz. If it's your first time joining, make sure you follow on social media at Late the W pod on all of that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're active on all of those. So, without further ado, let's sound the horn and get into this episode.
The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, Brennan Buster, grandma. It is grand salami time.
And we send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Welcome back to the Light the W podcast. Mahal Domingo Anderson, joined by Mahal Domingo Anderson. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. This will release on Wednesday morning. I'm recording this late Tuesday night, 11:53 p.m. is the recording. This will leak, of course, past midnight and into the early morning. The Mariners have figured a little bit out their season. They're finding their groove. Cal Raleigh's finding his groove. Julio Rodriguez continues to play pretty well, and Josh Naylor has become Josh Naylor once again, even though he got caught stealing tonight. However, Mariners are finding their groove, and the farm system has done really well to start this season. These Tuesday episodes, Wednesday morning releases, we release, of course, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, 6 a.m. Pacific time. These Wednesday morning episodes tend to be a little bit more random. We're just covering whatever random topic comes into my head, and I think it gets lost without sort of a true structure. So what we're going to start doing is a real structure here. I'm going to introduce 3 new segments, including one that's kind of returning for the OGs of the show. And we're going to talk for 10 minutes-ish about one specific topic really in depth about this team. For example, today we're going to be talking about the Rock himself, not Dwayne Johnson, Luis Castillo, before we'll get into those 3 segments. Quickly, though, before I mention anything else, Brendan Donovan on track to return this upcoming homestand. Great news. Hopefully he can stay healthy for the rest of 2026 as we knock on some wood. But getting his presence back at the top of the lineup would be huge. And if you can get him clicking alongside what Cal, Julio, and Naylor are doing right now, this is going to be a lot of runs scored for this ball club, especially if you can get Cole Young back at the bottom of the lineup. Imagine Young in the 9th spot leading into Donovan, Cal, Julio, Naylor, Randy. This is going to be a really fun lineup, and if you can really consistently find this bullpen like they found over this road trip, and you can find a way to get your guys at the back end of this rotation to give you a shot to win each and every time, including the guy we're going to talk about today, this team going to fly. But let's talk about Luis Castillo, because he's really struggled this year in general. And there's this notion that he struggles off the bat to start years, which is true. But this year's especially bad. 6.35 ERA so far for Luis Castillo. Opponents hitting 317, 383, 500 against him. In his career, it's an ERA basically of 4. Opponents hitting about 250 with a 316 on base and a slug under 400. However, there are a couple years that have been as bad as this year. So let's compare those 2 years. Specifically, we're going to talk about 2021. 2018 and 2021 are the 2 years that are comparable to 2026 in terms of March and April for Luis Castillo. 2021 is the one we're going to talk about because it's more recent and a little bit more comparable. 2021, 6.29 ERA, opponents hit 317, 373, 525. Not good. Just a 17% strikeout rate with just a 6% walkout rate. Walkout rate. Late night, y'all. Opponents hit 317 against him again. Whip over 1.60. 539 FIP. Leaving under 60% of runners on base. Batting average on balls in play over 340. 20% line drive rate. Ground ball rate above 50%. Fly ball rate, quarter of the time, 25%, and a 20% hard hit rate. Now, don't expect you to remember all those numbers, so we're going to compare them to 2026, number by number. Let's start with ERA, earned run average. 2021, 6.29 ERA. 2026, slightly worse, 6.35 ERA. The slash line is very, very similar. 317 average in both years, exact same. There's a 0.010 difference, a 10-point difference in terms of on-base percentage, and a 25-point difference in terms of slugging, with 2021 having more slug. In 2026, he's striking out more guys, walking slightly more guys. But again, that average is the exact same, and the whip is slightly worse this year. Interestingly, the FIP in 2026 is a lot better than it was in 2021, a 4.51 FIP compared to a 5.39 FIP. Left on base numbers are practically the same, a 7% difference. Sorry, a 0.7% difference. Batting average on balls in play is worse in 2026, which feels like it might come back to the mean a little bit. However, line drive rates are up, ground ball rates are down, fly ball rates are up, and hard hit rate is up 18%, which is the biggest issue. Now, in terms of what is about this arsenal, and there's been a lot of talk about the velocity for Luis Castillo. Well, in 2021, that fastball sat around 94.5 miles an hour before finding some life later. This year, it's been a little bit better than that even, sitting closer to above 95, but pretty much the same. And it's uncharacteristic for him to have velocity this early in the season. That said, I saw Jason Churchill tweet this last night. The fastball, the velocity, the command, that's not the issue for Luis. The issue is, number one, his fastball is hittable, but part of that is because his secondary pitches, well, they suck. They really are not good so far this season. He hasn't had a pitch that is above average in terms of run value, and his slider and his changeup both sit at -3 run value. Not good enough from either of those pitches. He needs at least one of those to be solid, at least average, for him to be able to be the pitcher he needs to be. He's a guy that uses the fastball a lot, as do a lot of these Mariners pitchers. But to keep guys off balance, you need to be able to use those secondary pitches to keep them guessing. And either he's missing by too large of a margin with those secondaries, they're not moving enough, or they're just too hittable in general and they're too easy to recognize. The changeup itself hasn't been an above average pitch since 2021. Well, the slider has sort of mingled around average to slightly below over the past couple years. Yet the four-seamer has been good throughout the past 3-4 years since he came to the Mariners, including last year where it had a run value of 11. But it has dropped off a cliff, as if it jumped itself off the cliff, going from an 11 run value to -2 this year. And all of his pitches, other than the slider right now, have an X-slug over 500. Opponents are hitting the crap out of the baseball against Luis Castillo. They're recognizing everything. He's not tricking anybody. The second time through, they'll get to him if they don't get to him the first time through. He's not able to go deep into games. A quality start isn't even an option, let alone 3 runs over 5 at this point. He's not giving them a shot to win. And that's a problem. So I want to dig deeper into this arsenal a little bit. What's the deal with this changeup, the slider? Why are they not playing the same way? Is there a velocity thing here? What is it? Well, the changeup itself has become more of a horizontally moving pitch than vertical, which puts it somewhat similar to the sinker. And if there's not a large enough discrepancy in terms of the velocity on his sinker and his changeup, it's going to be too easy to hit them. And whether or not they're hitting the ball hard on the changeup or the sinker, they're going to be able to put them in play. If you're on that sinker, you're going to be able to adjust onto that sinker and just punch that the other way for a soft little base hit. Or pull it down the line if you're way in front of it. And alongside that, it really hasn't lost that much velocity. So while the sinker's lost around 2 miles an hour and the fastball has lost 2 miles an hour, it stayed closer to steady, which means, again, that discrepancy comes a little closer. There's less margin for error. A hitter can be a little bit off time on one of those pitches, still make contact, still punch it into the field, and still get a base hit out of it. Changeup's only lost about a mile an hour, almost less. Well, the slider has stayed pretty much steady at 85 miles an hour. So while the fastball's gone from 97 to 95, that slider has sat. It's really the same pitch it was. And for teams that have seen him over and over and over and over and over again, he's not tricking them. His arm angle is not tricking them. The change into using the four-seamer more when he came to Seattle isn't tricking them. And it's overall just too easy. He's making it too easy for hitters to hit him. And whatever it's going to take, he needs to find a way to make an adjustment. Now, do I know the solution to that? No, I'm not going to pretend like I do. But one way or another, Luis Castillo needs to make an adjustment, in my opinion, to his arsenal. He needs a secondary pitch alongside the four-seamer and / or the sinker that he can get outs with, whether it's whiffs, whether it's strikeouts, or whether it is weak ground balls or weak pop-ups. He needs a pitch that's not going to get hit literally into the upper deck in right field. He's making every hitter look like they're Shohei Ohtani. Cody Clemens looked like Shohei Ohtani against him with that home run. He made the Minnesota Twins look like a competent lineup. It's not good enough. And it's been this way pretty much the entire season, other than his first start. And that's frustrating. And I just want to see him try something new. Throw a new wrinkle in there. Try and make it more difficult for hitters to understand who you are as a pitcher, because they know who you are at this point, and they're hitting you. And the conversation about what to do with Luis Castillo versus Emerson Hancock versus Bryce Miller versus eventually a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit in Cade Anderson, that's a conversation not for today, but it's a conversation that at some point down the road here, we are going to need to have, because it's sneaking up on us where we're like, well, do we trust this guy? What's going to happen here? And that's sad. That's worrying. That's scary. But I think we all know that conversation's coming. But until we get to that point, baseball works itself out. We'll see what happens. And I just want to see him adjust. So it's time for our first new segment on the show. This is Around the Horn. 4 updates on Major League Baseball over the past week. All right, Mahal. I heard you. Around the Horn. That's what we got here. Our first new segment. We're going to be evolving a few different things at the end of the show, but first and foremost, Around the Horn, we're going to be talking about Major League Baseball as a whole. It means we're looking at these teams around the league. We're talking about all the recent news, and this week, that starts with the Boston Red Sox. Let's go to first base. So, Boston Red Sox, they fire their entire coaching staff. What do we think of it? I don't really know what they're doing, man. Alex Cora, I don't think he's the problem. He's been a pretty solid manager since he got there. He's going to get a job real soon if he wants one, including from the team we just is going to talk about next, Philadelphia Phillies, they already offered him a job, and I don't want to get into this next team, but a Boston Red Sox team that, look, they're 12-18. They're 8 games back of first place in the AL East. They're in the depth of it. They're in the cellar. They're below the Toronto Blue Jays right now. Look, they haven't been good ultimately, and I understand that, but this is a guy that's a leader, a guy that this whole clubhouse in Boston seems to really like, and you've really hurt your relationship with them if you're Breslow. Like, there's a lot of things to be concerned about if you're a fan of the Boston Red Sox, because not only are players frustrated with that front office for letting Bregman go and for trading Rafael Devers and all these different things, well, now they fired the coaching staff that they all love. Jason Varitek is gone alongside Alex Cora and the rest of that coaching staff, and they did it, what, 25 games into the season? So look, I mean, I'm not a Red Sox fan. I don't know everything that's happening over at Fenway and over in Boston. But from an outside perspective, man, oh my God, it looks terrible. I feel for those PR people in Boston. Let's head to second base. The Philadelphia Phillies this morning fired their manager, Rob Thompson. They wanted Alex Cora back. No. You can get Don Mattingly. We got a Mattingly duo? Father and son? Up in Philly? And look, this is a team that's struggling as well. They're also in the cellar of their division, have the same record as those New York Mets that are having one of the worst starts of the season that I can recall for any team that people thought would be competitive. I mean, look, they're below the Nationals and the Marlins, ultimately. They're 9 games below 500, 10.5 games off of the Atlanta Braves, who are high flying. But man, Rob Thompson, he got the can real quick. And, I don't have as many thoughts about this. I think that this one was probably coming sometime in the next year or two for Rob Thompson. But, those Philly fans, they're intense. And if they don't get results soon, they're going to be calling for more heads than just Rob Thompson's. Sticking in the same division, let's go to third base. Let's check up on that AL East and the Atlanta Braves, who have had a fantastic start to the season, sitting in first place at 21-9. Oh my God. 7 games ahead of the Miami Marlins, who are in second place in the division. The Atlanta Braves, easily the best team in baseball thus far. They have been fantastic. I mean, what else is there to say? Ronald Acuna Jr.'s out there, like, balling. This whole team, this whole lineup is balling, and I think it's kind of what we all expected. Let's just look at WRC pluses. I mean, Acuna is only 4% above league average, but Drake Baldwin 155 WRC plus, Matt Olson 167. Nice. Ozzy Albies 134. Michael Harris Jr. is having a fantastic year, 153. And Tom Smith with a 161. Is that right? Maurizio Dubon, 13% above league average. Imagine if Austin Riley can figure out how to hit again. Like, this team's going to be pretty good because he's been below league average. On the pitching side, I mean, they got one guy with an ERA over 3. Wow. J.R. Ritchie's been great in his one start. Bainbridge native. Chris Sale, Martin Perez coming back. 2.70 ERA in 23 and a third innings. Southpaw and Southpaw at the top of that rotation. That's a real fun team. Bryce Elder there. Robert Suarez at the back of that bullpen. Aaron Bummer has not been the Bummer you might want him to be with that name. With a 3.12 ERA? I mean, come on now. Atlanta Braves blowing away the NL East right now, and they have been fantastic over on third base. And we've finally made it home. We've made it all the way around the horn to the Cincinnati Reds, who lead the NL Central. Who could have seen that coming? 1 win ahead of the Chicago Cubs in first place. 2 losses better. They're a game and a half up on those Cubbies at 19-10. Okay, Cincinnati. Let's look at their rotation because they have some fun names in there. Andrew Abbott, Chase Burns, Brady Singer, Rhett Lauder, Brandon Williamson, Mariners legend. over in there, but really the two guys to talk about are Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder. Burns 2.57 ERA, Lauder 3.18 ERA. Both those guys have been fantastic. Burns had another solid, fantastic start today. Emilio Pagan sticking at the back end of that bullpen. He's already got 6 saves, even though his ERA is over 4. Graham Ashcraft in the bullpen now. Connor Phillips, Mariners legend, who I wish we still had. Brock Burke, Pierce Johnson, Sam Mole on that bullpen have been great. This is not a team I really want to see the Mariners face right now because they are hot as the sun. Nathaniel Lowe has come back from the dead to be a really solid contributor for them, 51% above league average. Sal Stewart trying to be rookie of the year at 22 years old, 64% above league average, been one of the better hitters in baseball. Ellie De La Cruz doing Ellie De La Cruz things, 46% above league average as a hitter. But really, it's that bullpen, it's that pitching staff, and Sal Stewart that have carried this team to first place in a division that's going to be a lot of fun to watch all year. All 5 teams above 500. The Brewers in last place right now, tied with the Pirates. Both teams 2 games above 500. Okay, both those squads. It's going to be a fun division to watch. Are the Reds for real? That'll be remain to be seen next week on Around the Horn. Let's get into our next segment. Welcome to Down on the Farm, your weekly segment talking about the Mariners farm system over the past week. Hey, man. Oh, we just played it twice. That's real awkward. Okay, well, here we are, Down on the Farm. This is the segment I'm actually most excited for. We're going to talk about 3 different guys, 3 different storylines in the Mariners farm system to talk about as of late. And how can we not start with... You thought I was going to say Cade Anderson? No. How can we not start with Luke Stevenson? Luke, future MVP Stevenson, has reached basically in all 16 games this year for the Everett Aqua Sox that he has played in. 2 4-walk games this year, has more walks than games played. 19 walks in 16 games. 493 on base percentage. 974 OPS. 6 doubles, a homer, more walks than strikeouts. Oh my lordy Lanta, Luke Stevenson has been an absolute guy for this Mariners farm system. Like, I need to get up to Everett when I'm back in Seattle just because I want to see Luke Stevenson play ball. And, for those of you that don't know, real nice guy. Met him up at spring training back in March. Real nice guy. There's not much more I can say about Luke Stevenson. I'm really excited about that guy. If you can't tell, he's a catching prospect. I loved him out of the draft. I loved watching him in the College World Series last year in the NCAA tournament. I didn't watch a lot of college baseball prior to last year, but I found myself having some time to watch college baseball last year. And I remember seeing him hit bombs and being like, damn, I wish the Mariners needed a catcher. And then they were like, here, we need a catcher. We can have you in there. And you see what Dalton Rushing's doing for those Dodgers. And, maybe Dalton Rushing should have been in Around the Horn, but I mean, if Luke Stevenson can hit like this at the major league level, anywhere close to this at the major league level, he is going to be a fantastic draft pick to another draft last year that looks like it could be really, really fantastic for this Mariners team. Imagine if him and Cade Anderson work out something like a Logan Gilbert Cal Raleigh combo. I don't want to speak it into words yet. Moving on. Let's talk about the other guy I just mentioned, Cade Anderson. My God, has this guy been good. 4 pro starts for this guy. 18 and 2/3 innings pitched. 30 strikeouts. Opponents hitting just 143 against him. An 0.48 ERA. I watched this guy pitch on Friday night. He pitched 4 2/3 innings, just 1 hit given up, no walks. 8 strikeouts. His first 4 innings were perfect. And then it started raining. And I was like, wow, he was really just cruising out there. but this guy is really, really fun to watch. If you have a subscription to MLB TV and you can watch one of this guy's starts on Friday night, you should watch one because it is a joy to watch Cade Anderson throw the ball from the left side. The Mariners haven't had a legit lefty in their rotation since Robbie Ray, I guess. And before that, who freaking knows? James Paxton? Oh my lord. But this guy is really fun to watch. I'm really excited to see him and Ryan Sloan eventually at the big league level. And Cade Anderson, he's sneaking up on the big league level at some point coming up kind of soon. Now, he's got to build up that workload first and foremost, but what he has done so far is everything you could have wanted and more. Lastly, let's talk about Felnin Celestin, a guy that has really turned on the Jets over the past week. Won Northwest League Player of the Week last week for his 5 games where he had 8 hits, 2 ribbies, a 571 on base, and a 647 slug. And now has a hit in 6 straight games after his hit tonight. Actually, pair hits tonight. OPS nearly 1,200 in those games. Just 2 strikeouts, 4 walks, and plus a hit by pitch. 2 ribbies, a triple, a double, 10 hits, 6 runs scored. Guy's been really hot as of late, and if he can figure it out, this Mariners farm system again, just shooting up to the top, and what looks like another fantastic year in the minors looks to be continuing. And I got to make my way up to Inland Empire to talk and see a guy on Friday nights that's been starting for this Mariners system because I really, really do want to see that guy. But maybe that's a discussion for next week. Final segment, our third and final one. This is a returner from back in the day. Let's do it. It is time for Seattle Sports Wraparound with Mahal. Yeah. Seattle Sports Wraparound, the OGs of the show. They remember Seattle Sports Wraparound back from when this was the On the Diamond and Into the Deep podcast. Wow, what a throwback. There's a lot going on in the Seattle sports world. First and foremost, I want to talk about the Seattle Kraken because there's nothing to talk about there except for that I've been watching a lot of the Stanley Cup playoffs over the past 10-ish, 11 days, whatever it's been. And playoff hockey is freaking legit, y'all. Hockey's freaking awesome. NHL playoffs, best playoffs in professional sports in America. Better than the NFL, better than the NBA, better than even the MLB, and I'm a baseball guy. They are freaking awesome. The intensity, the storylines, the players just making insane plays, the overtime games, the crowd pops, all of it. Freaking unreal. The vibes are off the freaking charts. And if you haven't watched any of the Stanley Cup playoffs, go do it because it's incredible. I highly recommend it. I'm down here in Orange County and seeing what the Anaheim Ducks have been doing against Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers has been really cool. And it ignites the whole region. I mean, I see Ducks flags, Duck jerseys, Duck hats everywhere all the time. And I'm not even spending that much time off campus. So it's really cool. It really is cool. And hockey has this special way of bringing people together. And, other sports do the same thing. But I would love to see the Kraken be good and make the playoffs again because I remember when they were in the playoffs the first time and how fun that was. And I want to experience that once again. Moving on to Seattle Sounders, they're off to another hot start in Major League Soccer. They're ranked 4th in the Western Conference. They're having a great start. And, I would love to see them make a run at the MLS Cup again. It's been a while since they won one. I kind of feel due. I face Sporting Kansas City this weekend, who has just one win so far this season. The Sounders 6-1-1 to start this year. So would love to see them pick up another win. Before we start getting closer to World Cup time, which will be a lot of fun to eventually talk about and experience. Finally, let's talk about the Hawks. The Seattle Seahawks, your Super Bowl LX champions, world champs. Jadarian Price, first-round pick. I was not high on it at first, I'm not going to lie. But Rob Staten and others convinced me this guy's really exciting. He has a lot of fun traits, a lot of fun capabilities. And, I'm never a fan of drafting for, need. That's not something I necessarily believe in. It's best player available. If you're going to, this seems like it's a really good pick, and you're not making a reach like you're the San Francisco 49ers or Los Angeles Rams with Ty Simpson. So it's all good. And I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm excited to see what both those secondary pieces that they drafted can do, what Bo Stevens can do at the guard position. Maybe he can knock off Anthony Bradford. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this team hopefully repeat as Super Bowl champions. So that's going to do it for today's show. We will be back. Me and Jeff will be back Friday morning. Make sure you give that show a listen. Mariners back at home this weekend. Randy Johnson retirement weekend. Should be a blast at the park for those of you going. Make sure you do go. Support this ball club. I want to see them win some more ball games. Thank you for listening. Mahal Domingo Anderson, episode, 148. Go M's. Peace.